Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be diving into some really creepy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Unexplained phenomena, cryptids,
Right.
all that good stuff that keeps you up at night.
The things that go bump in the night.
Exactly.
Uh,
And we've got a ton of firsthand accounts to get through, even some old journal entries.
yeah. This is a particularly interesting batch of sources. I noticed a lot of them mention the importance of listening, not just listening with your ears, but being really aware of your surroundings, picking up on all the little details.
Huh. Like the wilderness is trying to tell us something.
Yeah, exactly. Communicating in a way we don't fully understand.
And some of these stories, they're pretty spooky. We've got one about a camper in Blackwood National Forest.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, he was terrorized by a voice mimicking his own fears. Can you imagine?
That Blackwood case is a classic example of how unsettling the wilderness can be. You're all alone out there, miles from civilization, and then this voice starts using your own doubts against you, preying on your vulnerabilities.
And the creepiest part,
hmm
no evidence, no footprints, no signs of anyone else being there, just that voice in the dead of night.
Right, no physical evidence whatsoever really makes you wonder what was going on there.
I mean, was it all in his head? Or was it something else?
It's really hard to say, without that physical proof. Was it a genuine encounter with the unknown or just the camper's mind playing tricks on
The
him?
wilderness can do that to you, make you question everything you thought you knew.
Absolutely, especially when you're alone and vulnerable.
Right. Speaking of venturing into the unknown, let's talk about Silas Granger, the guy who was obsessed with finding Bigfoot.
Oh, Silas. His journal is a fascinating read. It's like a study in how quickly excitement can turn to paranoia.
Yeah, at first he's all gung-ho, thrilled about finding these huge footprints, convinced he's on the verge of proving Bigfoot exists.
Right, but as time goes on, the tone of his entries completely changes. He starts getting really agitated, like he's being watched, and the entries get more and more fragmented.
And that's when the mimicry starts.
Yeah, exactly. The creature starts imitating sounds, little things at first. His cough, a twig snapping, even Silas's own whistle. It's like it's playing with him, messing with his head.
So creepy. And then there are the deer carcasses, all laid out in these strange patterns.
Right, almost ritualistic, Definitely unsettling. Reminds me of the legend of the Wendigo.
The Wendigo.
Yeah, a creature from Native American folklore, a spirit of famine and winter wind, known for mimicking human voices to lure in victims.
Oh man, not good.
Definitely adds another layer to Silas's story. The whole thing just gets creepier from there.
I bet. His last journal entry is barely legible. Just something about a voice calling his name and a feeling of intense cold, and then nothing.
He just vanished, no trace.
Only his journal left behind as a warning to anyone else who might get a little too obsessed with finding Bigfoot.
It's a stark reminder that while the wilderness can be beautiful and full of wonder, it can also be incredibly dangerous.
It's a place where the rules are different, where the line between observer and observed can get blurry and dangerous.
Yeah, you're not always in control when you're out there.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about Yosemite National Park, a place famous for its stunning landscapes, but also for its share of secrets.
We've got a story here about a group of hikers who stumble upon a hidden valley untouched by civilization. What they find there, well, it really makes you question what we know about the past.
Okay, so they find a cave, and inside this cave are hundreds of skeletons.
Hundreds.
I know, creepy, right? And even stranger is the silence of the valley itself. The hikers described it as eerie, unnatural,
Like the whole place was holding its breath.
and no animals, no birds, no signs of life at all.
Like something was keeping them away.
The skeletons themselves are a mystery, too. Can't really identify what they are. Primates, humanoids, something else entirely.
The mystery deepens when they discover something called the rift, this impossible doorway inside the cave emanating this strange glow.
Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Right? The hikers are obviously drawn to it, want to know what's on the other side.
Now that's a cliffhanger. What is on the other side of that rift? Another dimension, a lost world, something we can't even imagine.
That's the question, isn't it? It makes you wonder if there are places in the wilderness, anomalies that defy our current understanding of science and reality.
Places where the impossible becomes possible.
Exactly.
Makes you think. But for now, let's move on to a different kind of encounter. One that involves government secrets and a creature that, well, let's just say it might make even the biggest skeptic think twice.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, we're talking about Project Apex, a top-secret program the government trying to study and, get this, control a creature they called Apex One.
Apex One, now that's a story for the ages.
Imagine something massive, incredibly intelligent, able to learn and adapt at an alarming rate. Of course, things don't go according to plan.
Never does.
Nope, Apex One escapes. And that's just the beginning of the nightmare.
This is where things take a dark turn, We start hearing about people connected to the project disappearing, vanishing without a trace.
It's like Apex One is targeting them specifically.
Right. And we get these chilling details, witnesses describing a musky odor, these guttural roars. It's clear this is no ordinary animal.
Is it revenge? Or is there something more going on?
That's the unsettling question. Does Apex One have a sense of awareness, a memory of its captivity? Is it capable of planning, of emotion?
If so, that's terrifying. We also have the story of Richard Davies, a former agent involved in Project Apex, who had his own encounter with a creature at a remote diner.
Oh, yeah, that one gave me chills.
Right. It convinced him that Apex One is deliberately hunting down everyone connected to its past.
It makes you wonder, what are the limits of animal intelligence? And what happens when we try to control forces we don't understand?
Seriously, some things are better left alone. And we're just getting started. Next time, we're heading to the Hemlock Lodge, a spooky, abandoned place that's sending out these strange radio signals. What awaits us there?
Yeah.
You'll have to wait and find out. Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into more of these unsettling tales.
Yeah, some really spooky stuff this time around.
We left off talking about that creepy Hemlock Lodge, a place shrouded in silence, but sending out these strange radio signals.
The silence around that place is a huge part of what makes it so eerie. Like, it's holding its breath, waiting.
Yeah, and then you have those desperate pleas for help coming from the radio. It's a stark contrast.
It's like something's trying to break through, trying to reach out.
Right, but in this really distorted, unsettling way.
Exactly. And the closer the explorers got to the source of the signal, the clearer that voice became. But then there was this other sound layered underneath, something truly chilling.
That growl, right? Underneath the human voice, like something primal.
Yeah, it sent chills down my spine just reading about it. Adds a whole other layer of fear.
It's like a reminder that technology can connect us, but it can also expose us to things we might not want to find.
Definitely. It can open doors to the unknown that were better left closed.
And speaking of unsettling discoveries, we learned that Hemlock Lodge wasn't just some random abandoned building.
Right. This is where things get really interesting. We got this deathbed confession from a former government agent, Agent Ashton. He reveals that Hemlock Lodge was actually a containment facility, part of this top secret project called Chimera.
Project Chimera.
Yeah, and the goal wasn't to control these powerful entities, but to contain them.
Contain them? What does that even mean? What were they containing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this is where the idea of the veil of ignorance comes in.
Veil of ignorance? What's that?
It's Agent Ashton's theory that the public is being deliberately kept in the dark about certain things, kept unaware of the true nature of these beings and the potential dangers they pose.
So like a conspiracy to keep us all blissfully ignorant.
Kind of, yeah. The idea is that knowing the truth would cause mass panic, societal collapse, that kind of thing.
Okay, but if they're so dangerous, why even try to contain them? Wouldn't it be safer to, I don't know, eliminate the threat entirely?
That's what makes this so fascinating. It seems like they couldn't eliminate them. These entities were too powerful, too elusive.
So they just locked them away and hope for the best.
Basically, but Ashton also hints that this veil, this barrier between our world and whatever else is out there, it's not foolproof. There have been breaches.
Breaches? So these things are out there, walking among us.
It's a chilling thought, right? Makes you question what else might be hidden just beneath the surface of our everyday lives.
Seriously, this is getting a little too close for comfort.
Mm.
All right, let's switch gears again. Move away from government conspiracies for a bit. We've got a story here about a photographer, Elias Thorne, who stumbles upon something pretty incredible under a blood moon.
Oh yeah, Thorne's story is a fascinating one. It really highlights the ancient connection between humans and the wilderness.
He witnesses this Native American tribe engage in some kind of ritualistic hunt.
Right, and what he described, it's not just about hunting for food, it's something deeper, more spiritual.
The chieftain talks about a pact made long ago, a balance between the human world and the natural world, a necessary sacrifice.
The idea of sacrifice, it's a powerful concept, isn't it? It suggests a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things.
They don't reveal what they're hunting, though, do they? What is it that requires such a sacrifice?
They leave that part a mystery, which just adds to the intrigue.
It makes you think about the true nature of that ancient pact and the price that has to be paid to keep it.
Right. It's a reminder that the wilderness demands respect. a recognition of its power and the consequences of disturbing the natural order.
Definitely. Speaking of sacrifices and disturbing the natural order, we have another story here about a researcher, Elias Vance. He disappeared for 20 years after an encounter with, you guessed it, Bigfoot.
Oh, Vance, that's a classic tale of transformation. He reappears completely changed, his voice is deeper, more resonant.
It's like something else is speaking through him.
We've seen this theme before, haven't we? This idea that the wilderness can alter us in profound ways.
Like it leaves its mark on you, changes you on a fundamental level.
Yeah, and sometimes those changes aren't necessarily for the better.
And we're not done with Bigfoot just yet. We've got one more story to go. And this one really takes the cake. It's about a radio astronomer, Eris Thorne, who picks up a signal that's going to blow your mind. Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive. It's been a wild ride so far, right?
Definitely. Government conspiracies, ancient rituals, creatures that defy explanation, it's all pretty mind-blowing.
I know. And the stories we have for this last part, they really get to the heart of what we've been talking about. This idea that the wilderness is more than just a place. It's like a force, a presence, and maybe even a consciousness.
It's like we're finally starting to listen, really listen to what it's been trying to tell us all along.
Right. And what we're hearing, well, it's both amazing and terrifying. So let's start with Eris Thorne, the radio astronomer who picks up this totally bizarre signal.
Oh yeah, Thorne's story is a game changer. He's out there listening to the cosmos, looking for signals from distant galaxies, when he stumbles on something totally unexpected. It's a structured signal, artificial, but it's not coming from space.
It's coming from Bigfoot, right? Like Bigfoot is the source of the signal.
Exactly. It's like Bigfoot is some kind of biological transmitter sending out this message.
Okay, now that's just wild. But hold on, he actually decodes the signal, right? It's not just random noise.
Yeah, Thorne is able to figure out what it means. And the message itself, it's not about aliens or anything like that. It's about balance, about the interconnectedness of everything in the wilderness.
So Bigfoot is sending out a message about the importance of respecting nature.
In a way, yeah. It's a warning about how disconnected humanity has become from the natural world.
Huh. That's pretty profound, coming from Bigfoot of all things.
I know, right? It makes you think about all the ways we might be missing the messages the wilderness is trying to send. Like we're listening on the wrong frequency.
Exactly. And it makes me think about those other stories we talked about, like the one about Lily, the little girl who could see the hairy man that her parents couldn't.
Oh, Lily's story. Yeah, it's a good example of how children might be more open to those subtle energies of the wilderness, Less filtered, more in tune with what's really going on.
Like, they can see things we can't. It's both amazing and a little scary, right?
Definitely. Makes you wonder what else might be out there hidden in plain sight.
Speaking of scary, we also have that story about Bravo Company, the military unit sent to track down Alpha 17 in Alaska.
Ah, yes. Bravo Company. A chilling reminder that there are some things out there we're just not equipped to handle.
They had all the latest tech, the best training, but it didn't matter. Alpha 17 was always one step ahead, like it could see their every move.
It's like it was playing with them, toying with them, and then they just vanished, the entire unit. No trace.
That's what gets me, the silence afterwards.
Yeah.
Just gone. It's like a warning sign, like some mysteries are better left unsolved.
Definitely. A reminder that we need to approach the wilderness with a healthy dose of respect, maybe even fear. It's not our playground, we're just visitors.
Right, and we need to remember that. We talked about Jamie and the flute player in the Appalachian Mountains, too.
Ah, Jamie's story. Another tragic reminder of what can happen when we ignore the warnings of those who understand the true nature of the wild.
His grandmother tried to warn him, but the allure of that flute was too strong. And the legend of the flute player, it's not just some made-up story. It's rooted in this ancient pact between the mountain community and these beings called the hairy ones.
Yeah, a pact that requires sacrifice to maintain the balance. It's a chilling reminder that there are consequences for disrespecting those ancient agreements.
It's like we're all connected, humans and the wilderness, in ways we don't fully understand. And when we forget that, when we try to control it or exploit it, things go wrong, really wrong.
That's the underlying message of all these stories, isn't it? We're part of something bigger, something ancient and powerful.
And maybe if we start really listening, paying attention to the signs, we can find a way to coexist with it without disturbing that delicate balance.
It's a challenge, for sure, but it's a challenge we have to face. The future of humanity might depend on it.
Absolutely. So next time you're out in the wilderness, take a moment to really listen. You never know what you might hear. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, but most importantly, keep listening. Because the wilderness, it's listening back.